Previously on the Jay and Dan podcast.
Have you ever sweat so much you couldn't find a single dry spot of the bed?
Before I get to that point, I maybe get up and shower.
If you want to feel like the dumbest you've ever felt in your life, go into an escape room. They're just like, what's this? What's this? Oh, is there a key here? I don't know what's going on. So the people are coming back every 2 seconds. They're like, no, you guys are doing great. And I'm like, no, we aren't. Yeah, that's right. That pizza was not fundamentally sound.
It was broken.
It was broken.
It was broken pizza. Whenever she brings out the glare, she's like, Daddy. But I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
Kill somebody.
So, Stoff.
Yes.
Can we get an extra banana pepper? One per box.
Or maybe he got taken for a ride.
You're listening to the Jay and Dan podcast.
Face deep in a Big Mac at that point.
Dance. Dance.
Yeehaw! That's from last week.
I figure we just add on to it every week.
Nice,
That
thank
is
you.
great.
Crack this yerba mate. We're done January 27th, 2020.
Yeah, the day after the great one's birthday. The great one.
Wayne Gretzky?
59. He'll be 60 next year. Crazy, right?
Actually, I thought he was older. I thought he was in his 60s already.
And then also celebrating birthday, producer Tim, who I want to say will be 50 next year.
Yowzers!
I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to text him right now, see if he'll get back to me to confirm.
No chance. He is the worst text responder on earth.
He really is. He's just awful. Now, it could just be that he doesn't want to talk to us. I mean, there's that theory.
Hey, guess what I did this weekend for the first time ever? It's the newest rage. I went to
a rave.
No, I've been to one of those before. I went to a baby gender reveal party.
Nice.
I was planning to do it no matter what the sex of the baby was when they popped the balloon. I was going to go, boo!
I wanted a boy.
It was a girl. I tell you, if you're having a boy in the next year or two, it's going to be one boy to every 10 girls.
Okay.
There's a lot of girls out there. I know a lot of girls. I know at least 8 people pregnant with girls.
So if you're in the Orono area and you're going to put
No,
your
these
kid
people
in
are
school,
Toronto. These were Toronto, and it was a girl at the baby reveal party, too.
So 8 people. I love your scientific... I love the way you analyze things. It's possible, though. So how was that gender reveal party?
Well, it took place at a bar, so it was great.
That's a great idea. I love that idea because talk about thinking outside the box. Everyone always does it in a backyard or something. Or it's boring. What color are the cupcakes? Oh, they're pink. What did they do? Did they pop a balloon or something?
They popped the balloon.
Yeah.
And that mess was still there when we left. Confetti everywhere.
Well, you guys probably spent a good amount of money.
Yeah, we did okay.
You guys probably put a few back. How about the mother-to-be? Was she tipping back a few pints of Guinness?
No, I didn't know. Mary was very excited. She was in tears. So I guess she's happy that she's having a girl.
She must have known.
She didn't know.
Wow.
Or unless she's a great actress. Or actor.
That's really something. Because usually, like, we did kind of a gender reveal video, but we knew already. We were just doing that for everybody else. That's interesting. Well, that's nice. Good for her. Is that their first?
It is their first.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Did you give them any...
I am so fired up.
Did you give them any parental advice?
No. Was I supposed to bring a present?
I don't think so. To a gender reveal party?
No.
I don't think so. I don't know. What do you think, Stoff? I don't think so.
I don't know. I've never been, but I don't
think so.
It's not a baby shower. Right?
No.
I mean,
Yeah, exactly. No, you're good there.
Okay,
I think.
good.
I think you're off the hook, so to speak.
Perfect.
I think you're fine. You're just fine.
We're going to have our guest on here in a sec. When are we calling him?
In 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes, our friend
You
Robert
got it.
Lusetich, he's been on this podcast before.
We haven't talked to Robert on this podcast for a long, long time.
That's right. He's written a book on Tiger Woods. He's from Australia. He now lives in L.A., so we are going to go to him for 3 different topics. Tiger Woods this past weekend, Kobe Bryant's passing in L.A., and the Aussie fires, because he has direct knowledge of all 3.
Yes, and his house very close to the crash site where Kobe and his daughter unfortunately passed.
And that's how I found out about the news, because we're on a text chain with Robert, and Robert sent us that message, and I was just like, no. I thought he was sending us, someone had reported on it saying like, oh, look at this outlandish tweet, but it was a real tweet.
Well, I saw our TSN Instagram posted it, and I literally thought, oh, someone up so bad. I think someone's going to get fired for this. Because I thought they'd made a mistake. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the erroneous reporting was rampant.
Yeah.
Everybody trying to catch up to TMZ. TMZ operates by a different set of rules, so maybe don't try to catch up to TMZ, reporting things before the families are informed.
That was a first. So we did our Sports Center program last night, and that was the first time, and I've worked here since 2002, you've worked here since 2001. That's the first time we've ever done an entire Sports Center on one person.
Yes.
Ever.
And at first, we always have a conference call several hours before the show, kind of go over what's going to be on the show. And G-Bone, producer Tim wasn't working because it was his birthday. Producer G-Bone said, I think the show's going to be all Kobe. And at first I was kind of like, well, it's not going to be all Kobe. You got Tiger was at, at the golf, and, there's the other the basketball games were being played. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just as soon as you got closer and closer to going on air, you realized, this is going to be all about Kobe. And we did show Tiger, but it was just Tiger's caddy telling Tiger what had happened.
Yeah, Tiger had a comment on that 5 minutes after learning about it, after coming off a golf course. Mm-hmm. But yeah, once we rolled into work and saw all the reaction from around sports, like it was global reaction. We're like, we just got to air all of this.
And very quickly, going back to Tiger, that's the most genuine I've ever seen Tiger. Mm-hmm. Reacting, to his credit, he did react to it. He did the interview, just moments after finding out he's a lifelong Laker fan, apparently. And he did the interview, immediately upon finding out. And that was the most genuine, real I've ever heard Tiger, ever. The most unrehearsed Tiger I've ever heard. It's unfortunate that it came in such a tragic circumstance, but he spoke very well, I thought.
I've never seen outpouring of reaction from athletes like that ever. And Nick Nurse was on the Guys with the Overdrive today, the Raptors coach, and he commented on playing that game. He said he was in a daze during the game. He was like, he was talking to personnel. He was talking to players, just trying to get them through it. He was talking to game operations people in San Antonio, trying to help them.
Well, Austin Rivers, Doc Rivers' son, he was really eloquent. He said there was times he played yesterday. He said, I got to be honest, I spaced out half the time. I wasn't even concentrating on the game. How could they really? They're all, someone said it best, for my generation, it was all Jordan. For the guys playing now, it's Kobe. Kobe was their guy, or maybe Allen Iverson, but Kobe was definitely up there, mm-hmm. And so, yeah, and especially the guys who grew up in Southern California, your DeMar DeRozans and your Paul Georges and such. So, yeah, it's Kawhi Leonard's. It's still pretty shocking that it happened.
And the Lakers and Clippers, they were supposed to play Tuesday night at Staples Center, but they canceled that, which is the right decision, because again, you think of all the people. Kobe played there for 20 years. Imagine the front office personnel, the people selling the popcorn, the ushers, players, everyone, parking attendants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I see this guy all the time.
Absolutely, yeah. He was around, for 2 decades. It's pretty crazy. Producer Tim, on a lighter note, is confirming next year he turns 50. The big 50.
Okay, we're going to have to do something special.
What should we do for producer Tim for his 50th? Let's spitball us.
An all expenses paid trip to Orono.
So then you would have to hang out with him all
No.
day. Okay, because if we take producer Tim to Orono, we're dropping him off at your house, and there's just the two of you hanging out all day for his 50th.
Scratch that. We'll go back to the
Well,
the drawing
let's
board
ask
on that.
Robert Lusetich, our good friend on the line from Los Angeles. Robert, producer Tim, our long-suffering producer, turns 50 next year, and we're trying to decide what we should do with him. Any suggestions?
I don't know. I mean, 50 is an amazing. I can't believe he's 50. By the way,
Yeah.
I can't believe he's 50.
Neither can we.
Has he? Since he's been back in Toronto, has he left the house?
To come to work.
Yeah, it's
Just to come to work, right?
to come to work or to walk outside to crush a dart. That's basically it.
And maybe complain about the weather.
Yeah, but more about the thing is he complains about the traffic.
Yes.
But he lives in a part of this city that is not remotely convenient. I'll give it a LA geographical perspective. It would be like someone living in Thousand Oaks complaining about working in Redondo Beach. It's like, well, then just move to Redondo Beach. So,
oh boy, why would you do that?
Right,
commute?
right.
Why would you?
So yeah, that's him.
Yeah, that's just.
Yeah.
But he is long suffering, producer Tim.
He is, but a lot of that suffering is self-inflicted.
We're going deep.
Yeah.
Deep on the podcast.
Oh, big time.
So,
big
Robert,
time.
we were mentioning how...
Anyway, gentlemen, good to talk to you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And be on the podcast again. It's been a long time.
And
It's been too long.
Too bad it's on a sad note. And I mentioned how you were the one who, in our text chain, let me know. That's the first I heard about Kobe's passing. And we mentioned a bit earlier here on the podcast, you were very close to the crash site.
Yeah, no, it was I probably live maybe like 4 miles away. Yeah, no, it's very close. And what I sort of surprised me was I woke up after a very nice day. We've had a little bit of what might pass for not winter in Canada, but winter in Southern California. And then it was a nice day, and then I woke up Sunday and I thought, wow, it's really foggy. So that was strange to see so much fog, and I think ultimately we're going to discover that was the cause of the crash that claimed those 9 lives, including Kobe.
And there's going to be a lot of questions about the helicopter itself. But the interesting thing, when we were kind of discussing it on this text chain we have, is private helicopters. It's kind of like the Wild West in terms of the rules, because the LAPD helicopters had all been grounded.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They did, and they were concerned about the safety. Yes, I agree with you. It's definitely not the same standards that you would get, with fixed-wing aircraft. So, but that said, I'm just assuming, and again, I don't know the details, but I know that Kobe has had a helicopter for years, and he chooses to live down on the Newport coast, which is if you had to deal with the traffic to get to Staples Center on a Friday, it would probably take you 2 hours. He just didn't want to deal with it. So he's been doing this back and forth for a very long time, and obviously I just recently, by the way, went on a helicopter for the first time. I was down in Australia in December, and it was a great experience. But I got on the thing in a blue skies. You could see everything. Obviously this was very different because of the fog.
Robert, you're on the ground in L.A. We mentioned how last night, that was the first time in our history doing our show that we concentrated on one person the entire show. You've covered major events. You covered O.J. Simpson. You covered Tiger Woods. Does anything come close to this as for the magnitude of a death of an athlete just recently retired?
Yeah, I actually more equate it to the death of Princess Diana, because it was so sudden, it was so out of the blue, and it was a beloved figure, So you've got a figure that's very popular with people, and Kobe had a little bit of a tortured relationship with LA when Shaq was here, because obviously the two of them. Most Lakers fans would have wished that they'd just stayed together.
Yeah.
But their personalities were such that wasn't going to happen. So Kobe did take a bit of stick from Lakers fans back then for Shaq leaving and breaking up the team, as it were, breaking up the band. And he did also take a little bit of stick for his last couple of years. He obviously had a big contract and the team was terrible. So I think that whenever someone retires, there's a neutrality that you might have not had when they were playing that you feel. And I think that for most people, Kobe Bryant, 41 years old, they remembered the good things. And there was this incredible outpouring today, I have to say. I mean, the public outpouring in Los Angeles today was really significant. I mean, just thousands of people just changing their day to go and remember him in a public way. So he clearly had a huge impact on the city of Los Angeles, the Lakers obviously, but the city of Los Angeles. He ended up being their guy, and maybe there were times when he wasn't.
And that, I'd love to get into that a little bit more. You touched on it. The Shaq-Kobe Lakers had a chance to rack up several more titles, and I think that really bothered Lakers fans. That, like you alluded to, the perception out of there was that Kobe was kind of the hard ass, and Shaq just kind of couldn't tolerate it anymore. And
yeah,
right.
I think so, and I think that Phil Jackson was stuck in the middle, and it was just a dysfunctional relationship, and in the end, Shaq just didn't want to continue to say, why doesn't this guy pass me the ball?
Yeah.
I mean, so again, there's only so many shots you can have in a game. The thing about Kobe, I think that in a way separated him, and maybe from almost anyone, perhaps not Jordan, but he was just willing to take the shot with the game on the line. And maybe there's other guys that are willing to do that, and there have been. Not looking at you, CP3, but some guys make more shots than they miss, and he was one of those guys. But he wasn't scared to take the shot. And I think that, back then he was still younger. He was still perhaps not as mature as he became as he got older. I mean, Michael Jordan, you've got to remember, his first number of years in the league, he was just trying to win every game by himself. And it was only when he realized that, you've got to play basketball as a team that they became the Chicago Bulls. And I think in a lot of ways, the second coming of Kobe was pretty remarkable because he did have that maturation.
Something that happened to Kobe in retirement is he became a mentor. We've heard so many stories about how he would reach out to current players, how he would reach out to strangers online. He would stop at car accidents and help people. He was a big advocate for women's basketball with his daughter being immersed in the game. So the competitive fire was put to a side because he was probably a bully to some former teammates because they didn't compete as hard as he did in practice. But in retirement, he became almost a new Kobe.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why Toolsy, his legacy is a lot softer than it might have been.
Yeah.
In the sense that there's a bit more love for him. I don't know if either of you guys have seen Kobe Bryant's Muse, the Showtime documentary done here in the United States a few years ago, but really watch that, because I watched it just thinking, whatever, PR exercise probably, and I was really, really riveted by the honesty and the rawness of him when he talks about it actually made me think about Tiger Woods, who's a guy that obviously I wrote a book about, but one of the things that I felt about Tiger was after the scandal, he needed some way to protect himself when he was playing from the slings and arrows of the galleries and the hurtful things that they might have been saying. And Kobe exactly anticipated that because he felt it in the preseason after his rape trial, and he decided that there was no way that Kobe Bryant could deal with this. So he created this character, this alter ego, the Black Mamba. And I remember in this documentary where he looks straight in the camera and he said, you know, I needed the Black Mamba because the Black Mamba don't give a and that, you know, no matter what anyone says, he didn't care. And if you were in his way, he was just going to get by you. And he created that character. And in a lot of ways, Tiger Woods did not. And Tiger Woods felt the slings and arrows of that were hurled at him. And it cost him in a lot of ways until obviously recently. But that evolution was a lot different to Kobe's. Kobe's evolution was much more, I think, what I would, you know, have expected from Michael Jordan, who would have just said, you know, what scandal? I'll drop a double nickel on the Knicks on Thursday night.
Yeah.
And no one's talking about the scandal anymore.
And we were just talking about when, you know, Tiger's caddy, the cameras captured Tiger's caddy telling him about Kobe's death, and then literally 5 minutes later, Tiger's being interviewed about it. That's the most honest, most unrehearsed I've ever seen Tiger. That moment, because he didn't have time to get in his own head. And you know how, I mean, you've written books about him. You know how he talks. You know, he thinks it's all rehearsed. It's all calculated. And I really appreciated his kind of sort of raw, unrehearsed honesty about what was unfortunately a tragic event about someone that he was close to. But we really got to see, I think, a real Tiger there. And I guess just sort of the continuing evolution of Tiger as a person post-Tiger scandal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Jay, I think you nailed it pretty well there. Tiger at this age is just a different Tiger, and he wins differently, but he also behaves differently. I think that there were that 10-year period there where he had to do a lot of growing up, and not just growing up, but I mean, you know, one thing that is not, you know, he doesn't want to talk about it, and I understand why he doesn't want to talk about it, but I believe that, you know, the reality is that Tiger had a dependency on prescription drugs, and I think that DUI for him was rock bottom. The fact that video of him basically, you know, borderline semi-conscious, looked like he was high as a kite in the Florida prison was so embarrassing for him that it was rock bottom. And I don't think it's a coincidence that since that DUI, the uptick in the Tiger Woods career has been tremendous, because I think, you know, as David Ferrity, who's battled his own demons, I'm sure many of your listeners know of. I mean, Ferrity said to me one time, you know, it's hard to play golf when there's doors slamming in your head. And that's what Tiger went through. And certainly he is a different character now. And I think that he, in many ways, uniquely was close with Kobe. Because, you know, obviously he was from LA, he's from Southern California, but was a big Laker fan. And, you know, the first thing out of Tiger's mouth was about Kobe's fire. And that's what Tiger's always, I think, valued, even though, you know, he's been, for me, certainly the best iron player I've ever seen, greatest putter, great short game. What separated Tiger was his will, his just will to decimate the field. And Kobe Bryant had the exact same fire within, you know, and I think they recognized each other in that way.
How's Tiger's game look? Golf took a back seat on Sunday once the Kobe news came out, but Tiger finished inside the top 10.
He did, yeah. No, I'm personally still just not shocked, but I'm really surprised at how he's been able to find the fellow he used to be. And it's been it was a lot of years, and somehow he's found who he used to be, and he's back. Now, he's not back that he can win every week like he used to, but remember that no one ever did that. No one ever did what he did. So you're comparing him to his younger self, and that's unfair. But if you look around at the competition today, I don't think there's anyone, if anyone knows anything about the game of golf, there's no way that they would discount Tiger Woods in any tournament he enters. And that wasn't the case for a number of years. So, I'm very impressed with how he's bounced back, not only as a golfer, but, as a human. And I think that, he's definitely a better human for the experience he went through in a way. You need to know what you were so you can compare it to something. And certainly, he did that. And, I look at this year and I think there's no reason to think Tiger Woods is not going to win majors.
You know who else has that fire, but maybe a little too much fire? Your fellow countryman, Nick Kyrgios. He's crazy.
Oh boy,
he's a fascinating.
I love him though. He's great for the game of tennis.
He is good for the game. I think that look, this is kind of perhaps a controversial viewpoint, but I think that it's a cop-out. A lot of what he does is a cop-out because he flashes of brilliance, loses his composure, does something stupid, and then what happens? Nadal wins in 4 sets. This is the story of his career in a lot of ways. He's a flashy player. He knows he is. He's got all the talent in the world, but he doesn't. I don't think. I covered tennis for years, and I remember interviewing Federer, and Federer said to me, the day that I became, a top class player was the day I was playing a Davis Cup tie for Switzerland against Australia, and he said I was playing Leighton Hewitt, he'd played all through the juniors, and Hewitt, they had 1 set each, and Federer said to himself, if I don't win the 3rd set, I'm not winning this because I just don't have the stomach to deal with him for the next 2 hours. And essentially, after that, which he did lose that match, but after that, he said to himself, if I'm going to be anybody, I have to give everything I have. And, this is what separates the greats. Gretzky was a great worker. The great ones know how to work. Nick,
and that goes back to Kobe, right?
He reminds me of, and Kobe. Nick is unfortunately from the Australian line of Mark Philippoussis, who was about as lazy an individual as I've ever encountered. Here's a good Philippoussis story, which was told to me by Wally Masur, who was a coach. He was a good player himself, but was a coach in the Australian system. When they were juniors, they would send them running around Melbourne through the park in the middle of the city. And, for many times, Philippoussis would finish first. And they'd always think, wow, this guy's got a great run. He's a good runner. But what he was doing was he was going into the toilet block, waiting for 40 minutes, splashing water on his face, waiting for the rest of them to show up, and then he got in front of him and sprinted home. Right.
Classic Philippoussis right there.
That is Nick. That is Mark Philippoussis. And I just think Nick is too much, he's got to overcome a lot of demons.
Well, he's also said, most of the times he just doesn't give a he's like, I didn't feel like trying. So.
I know, but Toolsy, that's a cop-out too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's all a cop-out. It's just too... I've been watching this kid for a long time, and it's just, he's on the verge of doing something special, and he's a self-sabotager. And I think we all know people like that, It's sad. It's sad because his talent is through the roof.
Yeah, it's definitely
speaking
there.
Of talent being through the roof, I just want you two to know that I'm sitting here in the compound, the Whip compound.
Oh, boy.
And it is Greg Gode's birthday tomorrow. So we're having a little pre-birthday celebration.
Oh, a little few cocktails maybe.
Toolsy, your handprint's still on the shower door here. What's going on with that?
We spent a week there one night, I think.
You did spend a week here one night. You did.
Hey, Robert, how are things in your homeland?
Oh, very, very difficult, obviously. Everyone in Australia has been touched in some way by these bushfires. It's very tragic, even down to, elderly people in the cities, which are clearly not going to burn, but the air quality is so bad that it's very difficult for people to even go outside that have breathing issues. And look, not to stand on a soapbox, but I don't care if you don't believe in global warming, but don't tell me about it now, because the earth is getting hotter in Australia. These fires started in September, which is very, very early. We typically have them in the southern summer, and they're sort of January, February, maybe into March. So they've just been burning for such a long time, and it's such a tragic story. There's 70, I think it's actually not 70, it's probably like 90+% of the firefighters who are out there battling those bushfires are volunteers, guys and men and women who just leave their jobs and go and do it. And there's people losing their lives, and it's a very sad situation. So say a prayer for us, Canada.
Is something planned for when things are finally under control to celebrate the first responders, to celebrate the lives of the victims, to raise money? Are they going to schedule like a massive concert or a fundraiser or anything that you've heard of?
I don't know, but I suspect there'll be lots of things, and it's been ongoing. I mean, we've had a lot of events like that. We've had a tremendous outpouring from the rest of the world in terms of sending money and resources, and we've got American firefighters down there right now. So it's the world has opened its arms, and I'm sure that there will be plenty of opportunities for that. But right now there's fires to fight, so they're out there doing their bit, and I tip my hat to them.
On a lighter note, when you return home, do you ever think, I'm just staying, I'm not going back? And yeah, you've got a wife and you've got kids. But do you ever think, you know what, I'm just going to stay here. I'll disappear.
Hard to leave Australia. I will tell you that. It is difficult to leave Australia. There's a great story I read years ago about Bear Bryant. This is a little circuitous, but it's a podcast, so we got time.
Oh yeah.
So Bear Bryant was coaching at Texas A&M, and had taken him, and I think they went 7-3 or something, and they were going to go to a big bowl game, and then Alabama had a bad season, a losing season, and so the university had asked him if he would go back to Alabama, and a lot of people thought he wouldn't because that program was heading south, and he'd created Texas A&M into something good, and he said, well, of course I'm going back. And he was in an interview, and the guy said, well, why did you choose to? And he said, well, when you're a little boy and you're out playing in the field, and your mama comes to the porch and she calls you in for dinner. Well, mama called. And I always feel that when I'm in Australia, I feel that pull. So yeah, it's a great place. I know you guys know that. But
I loved it.
Canadians, by the way, get along pretty well for a reason.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah. I've heard Aussies and Canadians are very similar.
We get along very well. I honestly, I've never met a Canadian I don't like. We just have a very similar mentality.
Producer Tim, Robert, you can be honest.
Well, you know what? I can't believe you said Producer Tim.
Loveliest guy.
I'm sure there's probably a Canadian I don't like, but, no, I like producer Tim. Of course I do.
You know how small this world is. Whip, who you mentioned, it's his birthday. Make sure you give us a big birthday, happy birthday from us. He is friends with the Rec Laws, a country group that plays our Thursday night football theme here on TSN. What are the odds? The world is so small.
The odds. Well, he's from Cambridge, so
exactly.
He knows people. He knows people. He's also friends, by the way, with your mate Jory Toolsy, which is incredible. I mean, you grew up with him and
a guy that Jay
and he's out here now.
Yeah, Jay and Jory one day moved a bunch of stuff from my house while I went to a doctor's appointment with my then pregnant wife. And then 2 weeks ago, you sent us a picture of Jory at the compound with you guys. Like, the odds are astronomical.
Yeah, don't get me into that day when I was told that there was going to be a bunch of people there moving, and then I showed up and there was me and one other guy, and Dan left. I should have known this is like what I was in for the rest of my life.
With moving, the first name in my head is not Jay Onray.
No, that was the last call I ever took for a move.
That was not. Toolsy, how many people did you call first?
I called a bunch. The 3 other people didn't show up.
Yeah.
3 of them didn't show up. Are they from Peterborough?
Yes, they are. And Milton.
And Milton.
Unbelievable.
All right, you guys are making Whip laugh.
Well, that's good. That's the goal.
He sends his best, and I'm glad to see you guys are still doing a sterling job on the television sets in the Great North.
We love doing it, and we love having you on, buddy. We're gonna let you go have a good time. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you'll make your way into WeHo, and who knows what kind of trouble you two will get in down there.
No, you guys need to go to Marina Del Rey.
WeHo tonight.
Marina Del Rey.
Maybe Marina Del Rey, Toolsy. We'll go to Sullivan in honor of you, and I'll tell the guy that. Toolsy loves this story, but there was a guy doing a comedian doing an act. I thought it was an open mic, so I'm like kind of critiquing him as he goes, and he looks at me and goes, I'm being paid for this. You understand? I'm being paid to be here.
The way it was, like the guy was like, hey, you ever go to a grocery store? Robert's like, yeah, I was at the grocery store today. The guy's like, I'm trying to do a bit here, buddy.
Yeah, he was trying to. I just got. I really got in the way. I thought he was looking for some notes,
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway,
I was thinking before I let
Toolsy's one and only time at a international house of pancakes. I might
That's
add.
right. We went to the IHOP after that.
Rob, I was talking about you the other day before I let you go because I was at a restaurant with my wife and I looked at the menu and I said, you know what, I'm going to ask them if they can make me something off the menu. And then I said, this reminds me of my friend Robert Lusetich, who every single restaurant I ever went to with Robert Lusetich, he would say to the waitress, you know, I'm not really feeling what you have here on the menu. Could you have the chef whip me up, say, a Dover sole with like a nice cream sauce? Could he do that? And the waiter would be like, no, like we don't have that. Like that's not.
We can't do that to you at all,
sir. This is IHOP.
Listen, to give my the great thing is that at IHOP. They will do it. They will do it.
I still can't believe
like those eggs poached, please.
I remember going to that IHOP, first time I've ever been to one, and the last time I've ever been to one. We were there, 2:33 in the morning. There's families in there. I'm like, whoa.
What about that family that showed up? Like 2 kids, they were like 10 years old. I'm like, who is in here eating breakfast at 2 o'clock in the morning with their wife and their 2 kids? Like, what is going on here?
Probably just got off.
LA's a strange place, as you guys know.
It is a strange place.
Okay, thanks, Robert.
Good talking to you, my friend.
All right, you got it, guys.
Okay.
Take care, boys.
See ya. That's Robert Lusetich. What's his Twitter handle?
I think it's at Lusetich, I think. Or is it? Or I could be wrong about that.
I'll look it up here.
You should look it up. He's a great follow, actually.
It's at Robert Lusetich.
At Robert Lusetich, spelled Robert, standard way. Lusetich. Robert Lusetich. Yeah, very interesting guy. We spent a month with him in Russia once.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a blast. Now, next week, we have, Dan, a major announcement. Major. And I'm not joking about this because I know I sound like a sarcastic even when I'm being serious. But I am being serious. Big announcement next week. Big.
I can't wait. Is it a baby reveal?
It could be a gender reveal. You'll have to listen to find out.
Talk to you then.
Come on, it'll be fun.